this video I will be going over the MFJ 812B SWR meter, watt meter, and also the field strength testing features of this meter. So first, let me explain the few buttons here. On the back, of course, we have two antenna jacks, one for the antenna, one for the transmitter, if we measure SWR. And for the field strength, you have this connector that's only used to attach a 2 foot or so long cable as the antenna to measure the field strength. On the buttons, the first button basically is just toggling between the field strength, if you push that in, or the SWR watt meter, if you let it come out. So the only time you need this button is if you want to choose field strength. The next button here is the reverse and forward button of the watt meter and the SWR to calibrate it. So let me hook it up and do an SWR measurement. So I hooked up the Baofeng radio here to the antenna input and the antenna to a mag mount on my fridge. Set it right here so you can see it. And the frequency is 146.55 we're gonna try out. So to test it, we have both buttons out. We transmit and adjust right here that the needle is on the far side of the scale at infinity on the SWR meter. So you have to turn it quite a bit. All right, there. So at this point we can push that in and we see the SWR is nearly perfect at 1. So let's record that. It's 1.1 or something like that, or even better. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just for reference change the frequency.
008.
So I changed the frequency now to 147.54 and we do the same measurement again. You have to pop that out because you have to calibrate it again to get a good measurement. So let's go ahead and transmit, move the scale all the way to the far end, and then check the SWR, and there we have a little bit more. That's definitely 1.1, I would say, on that scale. Let's take a note of that. And just for shits and giggles, let's also check on the 70 centimeter band. This one is not really rated for 70 centimeter, but let's see how close it is on that. So let's go over to channel on 70 centimeter.
0.060.
So here I chose 445.925 as my frequency. And again, we pop that out and adjust. Oops. Yes, adjust that to infinite. And then we can go ahead and press that in and transmit, and we get 1.4, I would say, is that. So still fairly decent, and we'll see if that's a real measurement or not. Let me hook up the RigExpert that I have here and do the same measurements again. Okay, so the RigExpert here, we check the first frequency 146.55. Oops, messed up. 146.550. There. and check, and we get an SWR of 1.30, and on our meter it was saying pretty close to 1, so that wasn't too accurate, but I guess it's not too bad because it's not high up there. I guess a little bit of radiation is getting caught by the radio there, so I turned that off. Let's go to the next frequency. So that was 1 second. There. 146. No, 147. 147. 540. And let's check that one. And here we got 1.38, and we measured there 1.1. So it's kind of in the ballpark of the not being that correct on the meter scale. Let's go ahead and try the 70 centimeter frequency as well. 445, 925. That's what we had. And there we got 1.4. That's actually what we measured with the meter there as well. So surprisingly, it does pretty decent in 70 centimeters as well. One thing about meters, if I'm recalling that right, is the accuracy on the lower scale is less accurate than on the higher scale on these ones. So that could be one of the reasons why we see a little bit discrepancy between those two meters. But in general, they are fairly close to each other. Just for shits and giggles, I'm gonna hook up the 10 meter antenna and see what the SWR there is. So let's go down to our first 2 meter channel and see. I already calibrated it. I can show you how to do that. If we go into the menu and go to menu item 60, there you can adjust it to it was FS, where you calibrate it so that the needle goes all the way back to the end. If that's not correct, then you have to go to the potentiometer back here and adjust that. And I'm gonna move that back to signal. So 61 is what it shows when it's receiving. In this case, I just have it on the signal strength. And 61, the menu item, here you can choose what you want to see when you transmit, and we have it in SWR right now. So let's get out of here and go ahead and transmit here. As we see, the meter here shows also just barely anything. It's pretty much on 1 there. Let's switch the frequency and transmit here. Wow, surprisingly it doesn't show anything here, even though that was supposed to be a little bit worse. And let's go to the 70 centimeter band. And there we did see it go up quite a bit more to about 1.4, so that's pretty nice to see. And let me go over to 10 meter now. So now here we see the reading on 10 meters. Oh yeah, and then I promised to use the MFJ meter as well to compare there. So let's go ahead and pop that out. and transmit and adjust, calibrate this here. We need to go all the way over there. Man, that's like jumpy. There, now we have it. And push it in and see that is 1.4 saying. So here we are, getting the frequency in 0.28.300 and SWR and go. So this one shows 1.8. So they are definitely a bit different, but it's kind of the same inaccuracy that we had on 2 meters as well. So not sure what to think of that. Okay, let's measure the power on with the MFJ. Again, the external meter of the FT-587d also can measure power, so we can go over here into the menu to 61 and switch that over to power. I did that. And then on the power setting, I want to dial that down to, let's put it down to 10 watts for now. And we calibrated this here right in the 30 watts zone. Both buttons are out for the forward power, and we transmit, and MFJ is reading just a hair below 9 watts, and the external Yaesu meter is also just a hair below it. So that's pretty decent. Let's go ahead and increase the power to like 30. Not sure if I need to get out of this menu. So let's transmit. Yep, up there the MFJ is nearly on 30 and the Yaesu meter also says 30, so that's pretty decent. Let's go ahead and change that to the 300 scale and transmit again and see if the 300 scale is also in agreement. So the 300 scale is up there and it's really kind of hard to read. I would say, yeah, that's probably around 30. Let's go ahead and pump this up to 50 watts and transmit. And no, the 50 is showing there, so that's definitely not on 50. That would be more like 30 watts. Let's go up here and check that out, and that's saying 40 watts, so it's not too accurate. I can get a ballpark though. Should we just see what reverse power we get with that? Yeah, a little bit, not too much, because we have a good SWR. So let's do the same thing here on the 70 centimeter band. Again, I have set it at 10 watts. Should set over to 30, and let's test that out. Why did that jump all the way over there? So obviously you cannot use the power meter on the 70 centimeter. It impacts quite a bit. Up there on the Yaesu meter it says just like 8 or 9 also. And obviously the MFJ, you can adjust it, so we could like dial that down to meet the 10 watts, but you're just guessing at that point what you're transmitting, and you have to have some kind of a reference. So obviously the watt meter is dependent on the frequency. You have to adjust it here, which makes sense because they already made some markings for the different frequencies. So potentially you could go ahead and figure out where the other markings are. I personally don't have a need for it, since I have this other meter here and most radios tell you how much power it is. So I won't be playing around with that more. So let's show you next the field strength meter, what that does and how it works. So for this field strength, it says it actually goes all the way down to 1 megahertz or so. And if we push this button here for the field strength, if you look at the schematics of the manual, you have a totally different circuit involved with that. And that circuit does not use any of the antennas input. Instead, it uses this field strength antenna. And both circuits are really simple if you look at that. And you can find that out somewhere else on the internet how that works. So yeah, on the field strength antenna connector, I just added a wire. They were saying the wire should be about 2 feet or so, and yeah, I just used a cable that I had lying around. So now if we press the button, we see the field strength jumping across there. You can adjust it a little bit, because if it goes all the way back there, it doesn't make sense. So we could adjust it somewhere like, let's just say around here. And we are testing here with 10 watts. And the field strength is really just relative. It doesn't tell us how many watts we are getting, but you can compare from this, from 1 watt to the other. So if you adjust the antenna, move it somewhere else or so, you can see if at that specific point you get the signal better. Let me up the power here. Oh wait, that was 50 watts. In that case, let me press the trigger again and go a little bit higher there. So if we now go down to 30 watts, there you see, and I should actually see it as I go down here. Now I'm scrolling it down to 10 watts right there. So you can see it directly feeds with the radio. Let's put that together here. So if I go up to 50 watts and down to 10 watts, you see the field meter is changing. What's the conclusion about the MFJ SWR meter? The SWR meter is probably okay in the 2 meter band, and it might be okay outside of it. The accuracy, if you're not doing any kind of a science experiment, you're probably fine with it. On the watts output, it gives you kind of an idea. I just don't quite trust this calibration very much. I mean, there's no way to calibrate it against something known, and you're just adjusting it to this printed setting, unlike with the SWR where you actually calibrate a little bit. The field meter works just fine if you do know that that's just a guesstimate and relative on top of that. So for 2 meter, yeah, you can buy that and be happy. I personally find, since I do HF as well and build a lot of dipole antennas, I really love the RigExpert because it's really nice and handy if you're building dipoles. It is pricey. I paid as much for that as for this radio here, but it's definitely one of the investments that I would recommend right after the radio, especially if you're an HF, because you can't just create your own dipoles and test it out. On commercial antennas, you still have to test them and adjust them, and so far I haven't found the benefit of commercial antennas besides a lot of frustrations. So that's a little bit of the overview of how to use the MFJ SWR meter. Maybe it helped some, maybe it didn't. Either way, I hope you enjoyed the video.